Hi Year 4, welcome back to Monday's Maths. Today we're going to carry on with our multiplication theme, but we're going to be multiplying more than two numbers together at any one time. Before we get on to that, let's just recap very quickly this grid method that we've been concentrating on. So the first calculation is 759 times 4. What I'd like you to do is pause the video, draw your grid on paper and solve it for me. Right, let's reveal what's in those boxes. So these red boxes across the top should have 750 and 9, because that makes our 759 that we started with, which means the 4 that we're multiplying by goes in there. So what did you put in this blue box here? We've got 700 times 4. 7 4s are 28. But then we've got these two zeros, so we have to multiply it by 100. So we've got our 28, but with the two zeros makes it 2,800. This box, well, this is 50 times 4. So again, do 5 times 4, which is 20, but it's 50 times 4. So we've got that 0 that needs to be in the ones. So we've got 200. And 9 4s or 4 9s are 36. So once you've got all of those parts of the calculation, you then need to add them together. So the final answer that we've made is 3,036. And now I'd like you to try this one. So we've multiplied two-digit numbers by a single digit using the grid method. We've multiplied three-digit numbers. Now I'd like you to multiply a four-digit number. I've set the grid out for you. All you need to do is copy it down and put the answers in the right places and add them together. Pause the video and then we'll compare answers. Ready? Okay. So my answers were 9,600, 180 and 24. And when I added those all up together, it made a total of 9,804. Well done if you got that right. As I said, today we're multiplying more than two numbers at a time. So here we have 3 times 5 times 8. Well, the one thing we know about this is that because of commutative law, we can switch those numbers round into any order we want, and it will still make the same answer. So I have all the possibilities here. So no matter which order you multiply those three numbers in, you will get the same answer at the end. But I think we're going to stick with 3 times 5 times 8. The first thing we need to do is solve the first part of the calculation. So here we have 3 times 5. Well, that's easy. We know the 3 times table, we know the 5 times table. Whichever way we do it, that makes 15. So we've got 15 under here, which is this bit here, but we still have to multiply it by 8. So our calculation becomes 15 times 8. This is a bit bigger than our times table calculations, but luckily we know the grid method. We can solve this easily. Pause the video and then tell me what the answer is. I made it a total of 120. Is that what you got? Good. Now have a go at these ones, doing exactly the same thing as we did just now. So the first thing you need to do is write them down, and then if you circle the first part of the calculation, you need to solve that first. Pause the video and write it down. Okay, so the first part of each calculation, we have here 6 times 3, which is 18. So now we have 18 times 9. And this side, we have 12 times 3, which is 36. So now we have 36 times 5. Okay, now's the time for the grid method. Pause the video and solve both calculations. This is what it looked like when I did them. Check your method for both of them before I show you the final answers. So the answers are 6 times 3 times 9 becomes 162, and 12 times 3 times 5 becomes 180. See, multiplying 3 numbers at a time isn't that tricky, really, once you know how to do it. You have 2 challenges to choose from today, and you need a dice for both of them. But remember, if you don't have one at home, go onto Google Classroom and follow the link to find the online dice. For challenge 1, you need to roll that dice 3 times and write each result in one of the boxes like this. So you end up with a calculation like we've been looking at. For example, 3 times 4 times 6. You need to solve it using the grid method for the second part. So remember, the first part you should be able to do just with your times tables. It's the second part of the multiplying that you might need the grid method for. Repeat this 4 times. So you roll the dice 3 times each time. And find out what your highest and your lowest answers are. If you find challenge 1 easy, then move on to challenge 2. Now for challenge 2, the instructions are all here, but I think actually it's easier if I show you what you need to do. The first thing you need to do is choose a starting number between 1 and 5 and write it down. So I'm going to have the number 3 as my starting number. You'll also need space where you can make a list of totals as you go along. You then roll a dice to see what your next number is going to be. Mine's a 5, so next to my starting number up here, I'm going to write times 5. And then I need to work out what that is and write it in as my total. So I know 3 5s are 15, so that goes in my total box. Now what you need to do is roll the dice again. So I've rolled it this time, I've got a 4. So in my calculation, I had 3 times 5. I'm now going to write times 4 at the end. And I need to work out what that is. So I know that up to here was 15. So I need to do 15 times 4. So I might need a grid method to work that out. And I've worked out here that that makes 60. So 60 is going to go in my totals. That's my new total that I have. Then I'll roll the dice again, write the number up at the top here. So my calculation at the top gets longer and longer. And whatever number it is, it might be a 2, for example, I then have to multiply 60 by that number. And you need to keep going and keep going using the grid method each time until your number gets really big, until you get over 9,999. And then you need to look at your calculation across the top and see how many multiplications you had to do to get to that number. Then if you've got time, try it again, see if you can get to 9,999 quicker or slower than you did before. I hope you enjoy investigating this today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for something that isn't multiplying. See you then. Bye.